Welcome back to the Stigters! Today we're going to teach you step-by-step instructions for how to fix a big hole in drywall. This is going to be really basic because clearly I have never done drywall before.
First time.
First timer. We are total beginners. This is going to be a really easy step-by-step video showing you how to do it. If you've been watching our patio makeover redo series, then you already know why we have a big hole in our drywall. But if you haven't, we will put a link to that video in the description below, so make sure you check it out first. But this hole is from our gardening. So we were getting gardening plots out in the patio, and we wanted water to go out to those plots. And unfortunately, to get the pipe to work, to get the water outside, they had to do the piping inside, and the plumber made a big hole. So now we gotta figure out how to fix it. So today is a work day. So Jay's gonna have to go back to work. So I've recruited my dad to come down and help.
Cross your fingers, let's see how they do.
I gotta take on the big TV behind us, you can see. So it's quite a project already. We got this huge hole in our beautifully painted wall, so we're gonna have to make it match too. So let's get going. We can do this. We can do this, guys.
I'm worried.
So we're trying to make an even line down
I'm missing it.
the drywall. We're just using a box cutter to do this. Whoa, did you cut yourself? There's blood on the wall.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
I did. I'm injured. Doesn't care about me. She just wants to fix the wall.
She wants to get to you.
Thank you. You gonna kiss it? No. Okay.
So this is tough. We're using a box cutter to try and get the drywall to be even. We have, I'm gonna hammer while I'm talking. We have 15 inches across, but the hole's maybe like 14 something because it wasn't a straight line. So we've got a drywall piece to put in there that's slightly bigger. So now we need to cut and make a straight line on the drywall. Oh, looks like he got a little bit out. Okay, so now he's using a hammer. This part of the hammer, and he's wedging in the drywall to try and get this little piece out to make it straight cut down all the way. Trying to drop your tools because this is not very sturdy flooring.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Also, close the blade. Really?
I missed.
Okay, what did we
Oh yeah, you're right.
just
you're
talk
right.
about?
I'm sorry.
Not dropping the tools.
I'm sorry. You're right.
So next, we'll be fixing the floor after Dad's done.
It's coming off.
Little by little, it's working. You hear that? Dad wants a union break.
You've been working for 10 minutes.
Yeah. So we're using all means possible to get this drywall off. We've added a pliers to pinch the drywall and break it, as well as a screwdriver to shove in.
Actually, the saw may have actually worked over here.
If you have a drywall saw, that probably would have been better. We don't have
On
that.
this part, it would have.
So you can see we're using the pliers just to get a little bits of extra drywall out. And then we took this sanding block and we rubbed all the way around to try to make it just a little bit more even.
Oops, I should do it again.
This is Dad's blood, and he keeps dropping the tools. So we're gonna see if this piece here, this is the drywall, if this piece will fit into our hole. The hope is that it does, but we feel not that confident.
No.
Nope, doesn't fit,
Is this the
huh?
way you took it off? It wasn't the other way?
Don't know. Could not be that way. I mean, I wouldn't have flipped the board. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so back to the drawing board.
No, we'll just stand this out there.
Okay, I'm gonna stand down a little bit, see?
So Joe, what am I getting paid for this job?
Oh, you are getting paid a whole bunch of nothing, Dad. It's called free labor on your
Did you
child.
say nothing?
Yeah. Oh, what do you mean? Nope. We gave you a protein shake for lunch.
Oh, that was.
Check out that video if you haven't seen them. Best meal replacement shakes for weight loss. We'll link the video in the description below. Okay, what do we think? Is it maybe?
Still not
Maybe?
close. Wait, am I have it upside down? That probably doesn't help.
Let's see. The footprint is on the top. Yeah, that's the way.
Getting closer.
Closer, closer. Why don't we
Yeah, why don't-
screw in those boards and the insulation, and then we can try and bang it in. Okay, so we need the drywall screws. Drywall screws. We're going with
You have a Phillips
1
screwdriver?
and 1/4 inch.
Let's see the screws.
I think all you need is the one on the top. They'll hold it in place.
Okay.
The bottom doesn't really count.
So we added these 2x2 pieces of wood, and we need to screw in the wood. So it's pretty secure. We shoved up in the drywall, but we want to make sure it's 100% secure. So we use the drywall screws to screw it into the drywall here, and on the bottom. And then we're going to put all this insulation back in here. And our plumber did mention us insulation should really be behind the pipe, but unfortunately when they did this house, they put it in front, which doesn't really get the pipe any insulation from the outside because this is our outside wall. But it's gotta be flush, and it's not.
Not flush. Wait, it's getting closer.
Oh,
That's not bad. Then you put the nails in here. You'll get it flush. A real fly. Yeah.
all right.
So all you gotta do is put the nails on the side here to make it flush, and you're done.
Perfection on this step. Yay! So you don't want to over screw in because it actually makes the drywall go
What happened here?
too far back, like
See.
indented, and you need it to go flush with the wall so that once you repaint the drywall, do the drywall tape, everything, that it completely looks like one flush wall and you didn't know a piece was different than the rest of the drywall.
This side just not as flush as that.
So where the drywall doesn't feel flush to the wall, we're adding more screws so that we can tighten it to kind of bring the drywall back to
How's
the
that?
wall.
That's better.
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah. But now what about how far indented that is right there?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to loosen the screws to make it less, it's too close to the wall right now. So we loosen the screws to bring drywall back out. Okay, so we want to show you what it's like in a real case scenario. So in a perfect world, the drywall we put in would be flush to the wall, and it would have been a exact perfect rectangle. So you watch all those videos and it shows exactly how it goes, and it goes in 1 second. Okay, those are professionals. We are first timers, and you're probably first timer that you're watching this. So I think it's much more helpful to see the mistakes and what really happens, because you watch these videos and it takes 1 second to do these things. You're like, I can do this. And then when you try and you're like, oh, this is way harder than you think, and it can work, it just takes a lot longer, and you just gotta work at it. So, do you wanna describe why this is not flush to them? No, okay. So, Jay, I swapped Jay.
I was working the whole day, so I come over here.
We swapped Jay in.
It's done.
My dad was here earlier, so Jay's here now. Okay, so we put, remember there were those boards, right? So we screwed in the board, and when you screw into the board, right, it comes, how you can say it? It pulls it, or it doesn't pull it towards the piece of drywall. And unfortunately, the way we put in the board, we didn't put the screw in the very bottom. So Jay said to do it. My dad didn't feel like we needed to at the very bottom. So the board got pushed back, the drywall got pushed on top of it, and the board is so far back that on the bottom, we can't get that piece of wood, the board, to come close enough to get the drywall screw into it. So Jay's not thrilled about that, but it is what it is. It's where we're at now, okay? So make sure that you put the screws in to your piece of wood. So we have those 2x2s.
Use the furring strips as they're designed.
Furring strips. Make sure you screw it in the top and the bottom when you're doing the furring strips. And the reason this didn't go in easily, the piece of drywall, because we didn't have a straight line. Me and my dad tried our best to make a straight line. We took the piece that they cut with a ruler at Home Depot, and they made a straight line, and we put it up against, and we tried our best to make it straight, but it's hard to cut through drywall. You know, a lot of strength.
Well, I mean, this is 40-year-old drywall that has been replaced. When we pulled it apart, there were furring strips that they had used, plaster everywhere, so it's not like an easy cut with a drywall knife. This shit's 40 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a mess, and it was difficult.
So it's hard. It's hard to go straight with it, right? Like, we didn't do a great job. I definitely would have suggested using a ruler when you were cutting it. My dad and I didn't do that. We tried doing it against the piece of drywall to go that way, and it didn't work as well. So we made it work. We had to jam it in, as you saw. But those are some ideas of what really is going to happen on your first time. So what is our next step, Jay?
Our next step, after we had made sure all our screws are fastened, we cut off any rough edges so they weren't sticking out, because you don't want like rough stuff sticking out, because the putty won't bind to it and you can create air bubbles and it could create a mess. So done all that, now our next step is to apply our tape, the joint binding tape. So it's going to bind the drywall to the old drywall. And that's what we're going to do next.
Okay, and there's two kinds of this tape, okay? So we bought this mesh tape, which the guys at Home Depot said was way easier to use because it's sticky. There's also these big rolls that, they look like this too, it's roll, but they're much bigger, but they're paper. They're not sticky. So those ones you have to put the mud on first, then paper, then more mud, and that they said is a lot harder. So we're going this way.
Give this a shot. All right, what do we do, boss? You went to Home Depot, you know the rules.
We are just going to stick this on the wall. So okay, so for what I understand, not like that, okay. I was gonna use a mean word. So we're gonna just like a sticker, like regular tape something, like tape pieces together. So we're just gonna tape over all sides between the new piece of drywall and the old piece of drywall. Okay, so it's stuck on this wall here. So you can see how ours isn't flush. It should be flush. Yeah. So we're gonna put a lot of putty in here to make it flush because we don't want to see it. We're hoping that'll work out. So here's a close-up right along that edge. So you want to make sure the tape is on both sides. You're just basically binding it together. Right, so we're going to do it all the way around. So We didn't really use very much of this. Okay, well let's get that mud on it. So the next step, now we need this stuff. This is joint compound. We're calling it mud, putty, all those things we're saying. It's joint compound. And we're gonna put this over that tape that we just did. And the guys in the store decided to buy this set. So we bought this because they're flexible. And they said the flexible is really good. Said you want to start with this little guy, and then you want to move to the bigger one. So you're fanning it out essentially. So this came as one set, and I think it was like $4. So all the materials we bought today was all under 30 bucks. We did get the drywall for free. It was like a spare cut, and those pieces of wood we also got for free because those were spare cuts too, they said. So they threw them in. All the other tools only cost less than $30, so not very expensive. So let's try this out. Oh, and one other thing that we bought too was they said we needed this, which is a mud pan for the joint compound. So once you get to the bigger fan, it won't fit inside the canister. So they said you gotta put it in here, spread it out. So you have to do multiple coats of this, and you need 24 hours drying time between each coat. So we're only gonna be able to do one coat today. So good thing, I think it's working, that these two surfaces aren't flush. I think it's filling in the not flush part. So that's awesome. This part's kind of fun. Just kind of smearing this on and then trying to let it up. And it does kind of level it, or make it flush, so that's good. And then you're gonna sand this like part off so that it's like all flush. You probably don't wanna make it like too thick the first time. Finally figured out a tip. Needs more pressure to fan out the joint compound more, so I'm pushing on this as I slide it down. That seems to be going better. All right, leaving this for day one. Doesn't look great. We still definitely see seams, but we're gonna see how it turns out. All right, guys, we are on day 2. Our joint compound on the wall is nice and dry. So now you wanna use sanding paper to sand it down. Now Jay says it's gonna get everywhere, all the little dust. So we have covered everything, all the surfaces around us, with some sheets and cloth. And I put a hat on just to not get it all in my hair. I just worked out anyways, so I'm nice and sweaty. I'm gonna shower after this. And I also have a mask, just so I don't breathe it in. So we're just literally trying to sand it down to make it flush to the wall. So let's get started. I can already tell in some places it's really thick, this joint compound. And so we really need to thin it out, as you eventually want it to be the same thickness as the paint, right? Because you want it to blend in. I don't know if you can tell or not how thick this is versus the wall. We need to thin all this out. You can tell already how much it gets everywhere. It's all over my shorts, so definitely cover up. So we're just checking all the smooth parts now to make sure that you don't feel any rough edges or any bumps. And so far we're feeling pretty good about our first sanding job. And then literally every day now we're just gonna keep repeating. And we're gonna add joint compound, sand. Add joint compound, sand. And every day you need 24 hours for the joint compound to dry. But the goal is to make the drywall level flush with the wall. And down at bottom, our drywall is dented a little bit, so we have to build up some more compound to make it flush. Where in other parts, the drywall is sticking out, or joint compound sticking out more than the wall, so we need to sand that part down to make it flush. Does that make sense?
All right, so we put our first coat on, it dried for a day, we sanded, and now we're about to lay the second coat of the joint compound, mud. Hopefully to kind of fill in some gaps and make it as smooth as possible. That went much quicker than the first time, but now I think we just wait another 24 hours, sand, and repeat. We're back. We've done our second round of the joint compound. It's dried 24 hours later. We're gonna sand it down. We're gonna see what we look like. And then if needed, we're gonna give it a third round. Got my trusty little mask so I don't inhale a bunch of dust. So we sanded it, but you can already see some areas that you can still see the line from the joint. So we'll probably have to do another round. Now we're gonna go ahead and do our final layer of the joint compound. Hopefully this works. All right, we've put the joint compound on for the third time to level out any last minute uneven things. So now I'm gonna go through my final round of sanding, check out my job, and hopefully we are ready to paint. I'm gonna clean it off, see what it looks like, and then I think we're ready to paint. Alright, so we're ready to paint. Now, hopefully all we have to paint is the new section that we put in and replaced. But the paint on the wall has been there for a few years now, so in my mind I have a feeling we're going to have to paint this whole section of wall. Which is partially okay because we have a big 75-inch TV that covers up 75% of the wall. So
75%?
Yeah, 75%.
Not that
If I got an 85-inch TV, it would be 85% of the wall. But
That's not how that works.
we're going to apply our first coat of paint and kind of stay within the confines of what we replaced, see how it turns out, and then look at it. If we can see a line around where we painted, then we're going to have to paint the rest of the wall. If you're going to have to paint multiple times, multiple walls, a good way to preserve your paintbrush without having to wash it and rinse it and dry it every time is to put it in a plastic bag, tighten it up as much as you can, and put it in the refrigerator. That way the paint won't dry, and then you can use it immediately whenever you need to. Alright, so we've gotten through our first coat of paint. We're going to let this sit for a couple hours. It's going to need another coat, I'm pretty sure, but that should be basically the indicator whether we have to paint the whole wall or not. Voila! We are done. 2 coats of paint, 3 coats of joint compound, a whole bunch of sanding, and we've completed our first drywall repair. There are some few minor imperfections, but I would say for our first time it's a complete success.
Yeah.
And when you cover the wall up with a big 75-inch TV, you can't see that shit anyway. That's stuff anyway. So.
Yeah, so we did it. So do you think it was worth it to do it ourselves or versus hiring someone?
In the end, yes. It was quite a bit torturous in the beginning when I wasn't in control of the project, but it soon rectified itself and we got the job done.
It was a do it
Yourself? Your own?
yourself, yeah.
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself project. Not do it your own. If you like this project, check out our other ones we've made at the Stigters. And don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend, subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet, and comment below. Let us know what you think. Does it look the same? Does it look like one wall? Do you think we did a good job?
Yeah, and trust us, if we can do this, you can do it too.
Yeah, legit. We're getting so close to finishing the patio redo. So this is like kind of patio redo.
Oh, total patio redo. We had to get water out there for our planters. So.
Yeah, and we're getting water outside and we put a big hole on the inside. So still 2 things. We're still not done. We still have to fix the hole in our screen door, and we still have to get a movie theater outside. So we're getting there. By the time COVID-19 is over, we will have finished it.
Hope so.
All right, see y'all next week. Thanks for joining us.
Peace.